We're gonna have to start from the top, I assume?
Yeah.
No? Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure I knew what was happening.
He was the first public comment, so
Right,
he's gonna repeat everything he just said to us, and we'll be just fine.
okay. Mary Ann is on.
Sorry, Jim. No problem. Sorry. City council members, city mayor, thanks for the time tonight. My name is Jim McQuinn. I have been in the community for about 3 years. I live in Zippendale Ridge. And my concern here is that on Zippendale Parkway between 49 and Ford, within one of the streets within the city, within the development, there's roughly 35 missing trees that I'd like to bring to the city's attention. It's my understanding that we have a professional landscaper that's maintaining that property. And I just don't understand how we can lose that many trees in such a small distance. That distance I'm talking about here is 0.2 of a mile. So to have that many open areas and we'll say drip lines with no shrubs or trees. I've been working on this with Kathleen Johnson on and off for the last 1.5 years. She has gotten a master landscaping layout, so we know pretty much which trees are where. There was an issue for a while of whose domain that really is. It's my understanding that it is the city's, so I'd like to get on record with my concern here, and the other residents in my community are behind me with this as well. The whole entrance to Zippendale Parkway, as I think we all know, is the focal point of the existing homes, but even all the additional phases that potentially will go in at some point. So namely, why can't this be cleaned up and up to scale? If again, we're contracting someone, pay them a good amount of money to preserve and keep it nice and certainly have a certain number of trees that belong there. So that's really my comment tonight is that I do want to get on record to see what we can do. I'm happy to step in any which way I can, but that's my concern.
Of course, I'm sure that you understand that no action will be taken tonight. That's usually Valerie's turn that. The only reason I bring this up, I've been in a class all day long about tree mortality in the state of California. That's why I'm saying it right now. So I find that this is the irony. But this county, this tree mortality has actually been discussed at our board of supervisors meetings. So I don't know if that's a factor in all this. I'm completely talking with no knowledge of what is going on in Zippendale Ridge. I'm just saying, I don't know if that's a factor of what's going on.
It's a good comment. I appreciate your comments very much, and it's not the first time that we heard about this problem. And additionally, I'd like to have, the entire landscape situation up there looked at for the contract. So I'm proposing that I'll have it added to an agenda in the future. We can't do anything now, but if the city looked, I want trees all over the city, not just there.
Sure.
So I even think having an arborist look at it for why there was the mortality, what caused it, before we put new trees in that potentially die as well. So it'll be on an agenda.
I appreciate that, and I do certainly understand that there's many more serious issues that are being discussed within the community as well. Positive here is that basically 3/4 of this, we'll call it project, is already in place. The lines, the water lines, the landscaping master plan, it's in hand. So I think it's something that should be addressed, and I do really appreciate it being under consideration at this point. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor. For the council, the acceptance of the booster pump station in the park is on next meeting's agenda, and that will trigger going out to RFP for maintenance out there, because it will need an update to the contract. And so at that time, we will give the council a full report on what's going on here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But the portion that Jim's talking about is
Yes.
might be a right of way, it may not be exactly the same issue as Zindo Ridge proper. It may be two different sections there that needs to be looked at. Because if it's a right of way, it may not be in connection with the park. Maybe two separate.
Right, but the contract for maintenance,
Maintenance
would be Zippendale Parkway and the park
tied together.
tied together.
Excellent, thank you.
And those will be two separate agenda items to discuss the pre-mortality.
Park and.
That's
Absolutely.
okay.
Anything else? Anybody in Zoom?
No raised hands at this time.
Move on. Presentations and proclamations, pledges. 4.1 is a proclamation naming March as American Red Cross Month for the city of Plymouth. And there was a Red Cross employee, a person who's here this evening, he's not here. And I think we, as a council, I need to vote on this matter. Naming it as a,
What else? Public comment.
okay. Is there any public comment with regards to this item on Zoom or in the room? I guess we're going to vote on it.
I just want to say, it's a pleasure to be passing a proclamation. Not just for our community, but for the worldwide response that the Red Cross does. And I know your wife's been very. So I'd like to make a motion to proclaim the city of Red Cross Month, March 23. Red Cross Month in the city of Plymouth. You guys can clean that up.
That's okay.
Councilmember Kleinfelter,
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember McLaughlin.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sim,
Aye.
Mayor Ackerman.
Aye.
Uh, 4.2, we have a presentation from Amador County Small Business Administration Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. Mr. George,
Kostierko.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
I do hear you.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Ackland, Vice Mayor Douglas Sim, and council members Kleinfelter, McLaughlin, and White. I'm grateful for allowing me to speak tonight, especially by Zoom. It turns out it was probably a good idea with the storm. I missed the Jackson City Council Monday before last because of the snowstorm. But why I'm speaking with you guys is that my name is George Kostierko, and I'm a public information officer for the U.S. Small Business Administration's Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. Why I wanted to talk with you guys tonight is we have a local disaster recovery center open in the county center in Jackson at 810 Court Street that opened last week. We're encouraging any members of the public, any citizens or the outlying areas of Plymouth that have suffered any physical damage to please come down and visit not only the Small Business Administration, but also FEMA, because there may be some resources that might be available to help. The reason I'm really urging people to do this by March 16th is that is going to be the end of the physical damage deadline. Just to kind of walk you through, when the presidential declaration was declared in the middle of January, it began a 60-day clock, as it were. Amador County was added a little later, so the window closed or got smaller compared to, let's say, Sacramento County or Santa Cruz County or Merced County that were named initially. There has been some discussions that there may be an extension. I know there's been some requests. Apparently there is still community need out there. We've seen a pretty good stream of individuals coming and asking for assistance. I also want to extend a thanks to Beth Stanton with the Interfaith Food Bank. She's been an incredible partner in terms of linking all the different communities and the churches and such, so people are aware of the resources. And I also want to tell you that by Amador County being a primary county or a designated county, that means that we provide low interest federal disaster loans to assist businesses and residents that may not have been insured or may have been underinsured as a result of the storm that began on December 27th. We have had some questions. We know there's been a lot of recent precipitation and snow. We had some damage up on Shake Ridge Road. That is a separate event than this one. However, we do know that the county and the state and the FEMA have been talking about the incredible difficulties that the public has been facing as far south as San Bernardino County and as far north as up along the Eastern Sierra. So we may have some news on that down the road, but for now, the March 16th deadline is really critical, and I encourage people, if they have friends or neighbors that can't get out, maybe don't have a vehicle, they're older, if someone could help them and get them down to the center so that they can file a claim if they've had any damage. We also know that a lot of the residents in Amador County are older and they prefer to work with people in person, and that is exactly what we have down there, is they can get one-on-one attention for any issues that they have, not only with FEMA, but with the state, as well as about 6 to 8 state departments, including the DMV. As a designated county, there are certain fees that are waived with some of the state departments. So for example, DMV will waive registration fees during a disaster declaration like this. So we really encourage the residents of Amador County, and specifically the Plymouth area and the outlying foothills, to, if they did suffer any damage, to come in. Here are the benefits. I just want to go over quickly. I don't want to take too much of your time. You guys, I can see you have a full agenda. So for individuals and families, this can include up to $200,000 to repair or replace real estate damage for homeowners, and both homeowners and renters could apply for and receive $40,000 to replace personal property. For businesses, which includes nonprofits, there's a ceiling of property damage of up to $2 million to repair or replace real estate, machinery, equipment, inventory, and other assets that were damaged or destroyed. Now, there's another benefit that's tied to this. These are loans. These are not grants. FEMA does grants. The Small Business Administration does offer low interest loans. There is a second deadline, which is for economic injury. I got some questions this morning. I spoke at the Amador County Board of our Association of Realtors this morning. And economic injury is something that people are looking at, where maybe you've had a loss of business as a result of the storms. That deadline is much later. That's October 16th. The interest rates can be as low as 2.313% for homeowners and renters, 2.375% for private nonprofit organizations, and 3.305% for businesses with terms up to 30 years. The loan amounts and terms are set by SBA and are based on the applicant's financial condition. So assuming that we do get people that are interested in come down, they would come to the Disaster Resource Center. And the first thing they want to do is they want to register with FEMA. They're kind of the first stop, because they're part of the first responder part of this. We're part of the recovery piece of it. So if those that do not want to come and want to go online, the fastest way to apply is www.disasterassistance.gov. And there's also an 800 number that can be called. The hours for the Disaster Recovery Center at the Amador County Administration Center is from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday. So that center will remain open, assuming that the deadline is not extended and it ends next Thursday. We don't close up shop. We stay here until community need is met. And we'll be, like I said, we'll be there with FEMA, and we've got the county offices. I did speak to Congressman McClintock's district office staff this afternoon. They had some questions. I answered them. I have a feeling, I think they're doing some kind of a meeting downstairs. So they're going to come by and take a look at the Disaster Recovery Center. I don't want to take up too much of your time. If anybody has any questions, I would be glad to answer them.
I just wanted to thank you for reaching out to the small communities. It's important information and it really hasn't gone out at much public awareness as there should have been, because there is damage. Even the city has suffered damage with the storm damage. And
Right.
people have trees down.
I would be glad to share with you everybody I've reached out to. I worked with the auditor to get a hold of the community service district folks, the irrigation districts. Evelyn Ryan over in Western Title pulled a list of homeowners associations as well as some of the mobile home parks. So I've gotten that granular. And the reason I've done that, folks, is that I do live in Sacramento County. I have a very strong feeling. I have a close association with Amador County. I've been visiting your county for 30 years. I have friends and family that live here. But my experience when I was in San Luis Obispo County for 6 weeks prior to my deployment here made me realize how you can't just visit one place. You really have to keep working and keep talking and get referrals and finding out of different associations so they can get the word out. So yesterday, I did reach out to the Legion, 108, Post 108, Kiwanis, and those clubs. So I'm really trying to get the word out. And the reason I wanted to say a big thanks to Beth is there's 17 churches that are part of that interfaith food bank. And they reach out to many, many communities, and they have taken that message and they're talking to their congregants and hopefully announcing this during the message time. So I just want you to know that we are here. We want to help. And I'm doing what I can to get the word out and to try and identify resources. And I'll tell you, I've gotten a lot of great help from the various cities and the county on this. So I just want to thank everybody.
Thank you. I think 2 counties were added today. Wouldn't that lead to the information that there would possibly be an extension because the short period of time they would have been provided?
Yeah, I was not notified that there were 2 counties added. I know that there's a little confusion. So you remember the horrible fires we had last summer, right? Some of those counties are still waiting for the go ahead or the green light. And my understanding is that is moving forward. It may not be a FEMA announcement. It may be what's called an agency announcement. So I've heard that might be happening, but I have not heard about any additional counties being added. But I will double check. If you'd like me, I can get back to you tomorrow if I hear that there's been new counties added.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thank you very much, folks. I really.
I was at the county supervisor meeting that day and gave a presentation. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's a commission. I added to our city website. So there we go. And
Thank you for the outreach you're doing.
Thank you so much for your support, folks. I really appreciate it. You guys are important to the community, and I want to make sure that we get the word out as much as possible. And I was also on the radio station in Jackson last Friday. We talked for about a half hour. So Jim was great.
thank you. Next item, 4.3, make appointments to a TOT grant policy ad hoc committee. This is a discussion. Who might want to volunteer for this?
I think Marianne, as mayor, should probably lead the discussion. She makes the appointment
Is she on
to her.
Yeah,
during her term.
I'm here and I am again, this was to not decide, not for this ad hoc committee to make any decisions about who is going to get any grant funding or anything like that, but more what is our process going to look like in our policies and procedures. And I would like to be on the committee, and council member Kleinfelter has also expressed an interest. So I would like to see myself and council member Kleinfelter be on this ad hoc committee, and then we would bring things back to the rest of the council, and we would also ask for input and feedback from the council. So that's my vision for this.
Hold on a second. Okay with that? Finally,
That can be just consensus, so we're not big matter.
as we have consensus on. Mayor. Were you and,
So is there a consensus that
Yes,
that
there is.
Valerie and I would be on this committee?
if you have it.
I'm sorry, say that again, Doug?
Yes, you do.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we close that?
Yes.
Move on. All matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless before the city council votes on a motion to adapt. Members of the council, staff, or public request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Roll call.
Public comments.
Okay. Can we group them all together?
Yes, the public comment regarding the entire.
Okay. Entirely. Do I read each one of these?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a public comment? No? Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
a second time.
Councilmember Kleinfelder,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McLaughlin.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sim,
Aye.
Mayor Ackerman.
Aye.
Public hearings none. Regular agenda items none. Council staff communications, 3 reports on matters of general interest.
You're up, ready for me?
Review.
So we had Kathleen Johnson attended a meeting at the county regarding the storms and started the process for us to get assistance with our damage. At the next meeting of the council, it's a pretty heavy agenda so far. A couple of the big items will be an update on the CFD monies. We'll have a report from the city engineer on the process that the city takes regarding the process the city engineer takes when we get plans for development. And the developer at Zimpernel Ridge, their engineer will be present to address how the design of the drainage was designed for Zimpernel Ridge to address the complaints we've been receiving on the drainage. The rodeo's next weekend, Friday 6 p.m., Saturday 1, and Sunday at noon. Had a visit from our AWA Board Representative Ken Devers. He stopped by and chatted about water for quite a while this week. And we wanted to know if the council would be interested in holding a joint meeting with the water board. At next meeting, we'll also have an update on the Royal Ditch work and where we go to next, depending on what the council would like to see happen. From the damage from the sand fire and the damage from the following year's damage. And some good news is that we have resumed Zoom. we're doing it the way we've done it in the past, but beginning next meeting, the radio station will be taking over doing our Zoom meetings. They'll be bringing in their professional equipment, they'll be setting up, tearing down, and they'll be broadcasting on Zoom. They'll do our YouTube link, and they'll also have Facebook Live. So those are
Test.
Regards to the sewage plant, I guess we had some kind of a breakdown, a leak of some sort. Was that taken care of?
The chlorine leak
Yes, the chlorine.
was completely finished today. And so that is all taken care of.
Excellent, thank you. Any council reports? Sorry.
Just a brief report that, you know, not attending as a council member, but as a committee that I've been blessed to be a part of for the past years. The Veterans Park Group has continued to make some great strides moving forward, working with a new city planning firm. Finalizing the work and hopefully being able to really make this great ground starting implementation and with the revitalization of this great project for our community. So looking forward to seeing that come to our city.
That will go to the planning commission on the 16th.
Or
That phase 2 will go to the planning commission on the 16th.
I'm gonna keep on hammering about Oxy future agenda items.
Check the
That
box.
is going to be on next meeting's agenda.
Yeah, that's
You're gonna get overwhelmed with the amount of emails because right now, at a legislative level, the League of California Cities is having a lot of information come through. And when I get it, I'm passing it along to Margaret and Frank. So if there's anything of interest to the full council, we're aware of it. There's a lot of legislation going on. I will attend by Zoom the regional meeting on Monday. And then at the end of the month, we will have our first of the year in person in Calusa. And we will be discussing the additional dwelling units issue and how we better inform the public regarding that.
at least it's not cruise in August. I guess that who's the mayor's report and the council report. Are you? I'm sorry. You have anything to say there?
Just that, you know, recently, with about 2 weeks ago at the Plymouth Hotel, ACRA, Amador County Recreation Agency, and the Plymouth Hotel hosted line dancing. And I noticed it said in the minutes that it looks like I did line dancing. I didn't, I was an observer, and just want to make that clear. But nonetheless, it was really well attended. And so, you know, I want to thank Plymouth Hotel for hosting that, and thank ACRA for bringing a fun activity to our community. And certainly, I think we all would like to see more activities that the community would be interested in. Other than that is all I have. Margaret, I want to give you a big thank you for being so creative and coming up with getting the radio station out to do our Zoom meetings. So thank you for doing that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Well, with that, I guess I have nothing to see now we discussed.
Sorry, just future agenda items.
Oh, okay. We missed that?
No, I think I jumped.
Kind of combine them. Go ahead, you.
Oh, yep, I do.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I did always combine. So I'd like to request a future agenda item, like it may be more broad, but at least getting the direction started. There's been a lot of conversation about the transient occupancy tax and where we stand. And all of us as council have received emails from at least one member of the community, bringing up concerns about governance, the adoption and different things. And so I guess what I'd like to see is basically an assessment of our TOT, that it's top to bottom assessment from, the governance and the enactment, which I know has been just recently vetted out, with Margaret and Frank, doing an assessment of the TOT collection policies and processes. I know that the TOT grant policies, that we established an ad hoc committee this evening, so that would be a moot point, at least in terms of this. Auditing TOT revenue and then also auditing TOT expenditures, making sure that those that are supposed to be paying are paying them, and that what we're using the money for is consistent with what we've designed to use it for, and then ultimately what we have available for our use. And I know as through the grant program, we'll be identifying what we will be able to use it for going forward. So I have a copy of my notes. I'll be happy to give you. I expect you to be able to write that down as quickly as appropriate. So thank you.
Right here. Anybody else? Anybody else? Well, on that one.
Doug, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I just remembered, the letter that was received by FEMA. I had an opportunity to read it. I have to be honest by saying that it's not a subject matter that I'm real familiar with, but it certainly looks important. And if at some point, maybe staff could at a future meeting, kind of let us know, let the council know, for people like me who don't quite understand the entire issue, how that impacts us, as far as making sure that we're in compliance and that sort of thing. And I suppose if it's not something that needs to be put on the agenda, then maybe I can just follow up with you, Margaret, for an explanation or to help me understand more what it means.
Point well taken.
Mary Ann, I agree with you, and I think it would be a part of an overall look at FEMA monies and how long it's been hanging out there, what's been expended, and what have we got for it. So I think that wrapping that all together in an agenda item is an excellent idea.
Okay, I guess what I was trying to say is I don't want to tie up a meeting. Just if I'm the only one who's not understanding this, but it sounds like more conversation is warranted.
Thank you. Anything else? I will adjourn the meeting.
Good job, Doug.